Hello everyone, Eric Eisenberg, film editor from Cinema Blend here, and I'm beyond ecstatic to introduce you all to the newest section of our website, Hero Blend. Hero Blend is going to be the #1 stop for all film, television, and video game news related to the latest superhero releases, be it Batman vs. Superman, Avengers 2, the new Flash series, Arrow, Gotham, and Justice Gods Among Us, Batman Arkham Origins, any of them. All you have to do is come by, stop by our site, and read all the latest news. In addition to all of that, we will also have a weekly podcast that I'll be hosting with a new co-host every single week on Thursdays, so be sure to stay tuned and enjoy our first episode. So I'm here with movie content director Sean O'Connell from Cinema Blend, my wonderful coworker. How are you doing today, Sean?
Wonderful, man. Good to be with you. Happy to be here, kicking off the podcast, videocast. What are we calling this?
Whatever. It doesn't really matter. It's the Hero Blend cast. Let's just call it that, shall we?
I love it.
Cool.
I love it.
So today, basically what I want to talk about is the news that broke late last week, which is that instead of coming out in the summer of 2015, now the Batman vs. Superman movie, Man of Steel sequel, whatever you want to call it, it's going to be coming out in May of 2016. So first off, what is your initial reaction to this news?
Initially, I'm shocked because we're running into this problem where these studios and these franchises are given dates that they need to race to meet. And, you know, we're hearing blowback from certain directors who don't want to play that game, and so they're leaving the Planet of the Apes franchise as an example,
right,
and turning it over to other people. So this seems like a rational move by a studio to say, let's not race. Let's give the director the time that I think Snyder has earned, because, I mean, Man of Steel, for the problems that it has, it was a hit. And if they want to build a solid foundation, then give him the time. But it does create a huge gap in the fact that, you know, they came out on stage at Comic-Con, they announced this team-up. People have been in a passionate fervor ever since announcing that, and now you're telling that fan base to wait 2 more years. That's got to be rough.
No, absolutely. And frankly, but honestly, it kind of makes it a more surprising move for Warner Brothers, because obviously, I mean, as it's been said over and over again, the name of the game right now is to match Marvel, and Marvel has a good, I guess at this point, it's 7 years. Or 9 years. 9 years? They started in 2008. No, that's not even close to 9 years. That's, I can't do math. So that's
5 years.
5 years. They've been doing this for a really long time. This is why I'm a journalist, by the way, not a math major. They've been doing this for so long. Warner Brothers is now playing catch-up in terms of building a DC cinematic universe, and the fact that they'd be willing to put those plans on hold and delay it just to make sure that they're actually providing a good product, that's a really good sign. And frankly, I'm encouraged by it.
But the reason they gave for it, I don't really understand. Didn't they kind of say that it's the special effects that would be needed to pull it off?
Well, I mean, I guess that it's not so much special effects. I think it's more just the size of the story, which honestly kind of sounds like an implication that it may be that rumored plan of filming a Batman vs. Superman Justice League movie back-to-back. They just need to have more time to kind of plan out that scheduling. At the same time, you have to acknowledge, like, they only moved the production schedule to May, which means that it's only a couple months after when it would have started originally. But I guess they are planning on starting a much longer production. But it's interesting that they haven't announced any idea, they haven't given any clue that they might do a back-to-back production yet.
Right, because the reason I ask is that, you know, like, this is a production that is, quote-unquote, shot some scenes. Remember they set up at that football stadium and they had
in LA. Absolutely.
Yeah, so, I mean, that suggested to me that there's a script in place, you know, to the point where they knew they needed some scenes. Is that script still what they're working off of? Are they redoing it? I mean,
late last month they did hire Argo screenwriter Chris Terrio to basically do another draft building on what David S. Goyer and Zack Snyder already did. So it's entirely possible that, I mean, that footage may still be what they need, but the plan has changed to the point where they are saying, like, we just need more time, and that they don't necessarily have a set script yet. Do you find that discouraging, that they're not 100% ready at this point?
No, I don't. And the thing that shocked me the most about it is I don't think that they took a publicity hit on this. They announced they were moving it back, and there wasn't an uproar. In general, people seem to say, good, take the time. I mean, don't you feel that way too?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And frankly, it's completely reasonable. I mean, we have been waiting. I mean, as it is, we've been waiting so long to see Batman and Superman on the screen together. It's one more year that it's one more year of waiting, but at the same time, it's like there's a bigger chance of it actually being quality, of it being better. And if you're gonna make a Batman Superman movie, take the time to make it good. Don't rush it. I think it's the best movie they could possibly make. No, and like it's also, I mean, it's a conversation that needs to be had, because this, in addition to moving the film just as a pushback measure, just to improve the film, it also has an effect on the 2015 calendar, which now has, like, it's subtracted one of its biggest titles.
Right, right. Well, anytime that a season has some room to breathe,
yeah,
I think that helps. And that was a very crowded field as it was.
It's still insanely crowded. I mean, you still have you have Avengers, you have Jurassic World, you have Terminator, you have all the. I mean, of course, you have Star Wars coming at the end of the year, not during the summer. But I mean, it's a crowded field, and like at some point, Hollywood's going to be coming out with so many blockbusters that all you can really get is the opening weekend. There's no chance for any kind of run, and Hollywood may end up just eating itself in that capacity. So honestly, this move is a benefit in that area. I mean, it's a way to kind of get blockbusters to stop piling on top of each other. And now, in 2016, yes, there are a few titles out there. I mean, for example, X-Men Apocalypse, but at the same time, it's a much wider field, and it kind of seems like it's a smart move for Warner Brothers to make, and just in that respect.
Well, on the massive chessboard now, DC is going against an unnamed Marvel title to kick off the summer of 2016. Right. So let's start speculating about what that title might be, because do you think that maybe it changes Marvel's plans about now they need to bring in a little bit more of a heavy hitter, something with some familiarity to it, or can they still potentially maybe do Doctor Strange and roll out something that is new and different and questionable now that they're going up against potentially Batman Superman?
Kind of a bigger challenge. Well, honestly, and this is kind of me floating out a little bit of a conspiracy theory, but last year there was a point in time when Paramount was announcing their Terminator reboot. They announced it for the July 4th weekend of 2015, which again is another blockbuster coming out next year. The thing is, though, is that at the time of that announcement, Sony had already claimed that weekend for Independence Day 2. And obviously, It's kind of strange, the idea of having both Terminator and Independence Day 2 on the same date. As it turns out, however, Independence Day 2 isn't happening in time for 2015. I believe it's now scheduled for 2016. So what I'm thinking may actually be going on here is that DC and Warner Brothers know that Marvel actually already has plans to potentially move off that May date, because you have to remember, this past year they have they put out Thor in November. They're putting out Captain America in April. They don't have it, like, there's no May date for 2014. So they aren't necessarily, I mean, while they have stuck to the May date in previous years, that isn't necessarily where they're still going. So it's possible that DC heard that, and also when Marvel actually announced that they wanted to have the first weekend of May in 2016, that was also before they had announced that Ant-Man was going to be moving up from November to July. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, their entire schedule may have completely changed, and they just haven't let us know yet. Again, that's just a conspiracy theory. But I think it's something to consider, and it may not even be that Marvel is going to be competing with them. However, at this point, I think it is worth mentioning that Marvel moving away from the date as Batman comes to it may actually not necessarily look like the best PR kind of situation.
That May weekend is always so good, though. It's so profitable.
Yeah.
And we've had a superhero movie in that slot, it feels, for the past few years at least. And I know with Spider-Man has it this year, and then Marvel is supposed to have it next year. Is that correct? 2015? Oh, Avengers.
No, Avengers. Yeah, exactly. Avengers is coming out next year.
It would be
it's kind of a big one. I mean, just a little, but
yeah, right. Exactly. I mean, could we ever get to a point though where we have something like, God forbid, something, you know, like a non-superhero movie, maybe something even original and different, a new project? You know, there are a couple other things. Does Fantastic Four have a date? I mean, could that drop?
I believe that is not. I think that's a summer release in 2015. So that's probably not going to happen.
Okay. So I mean, it's really funny because, you know, the house of cards starts to tumble, you know, with every move that each studio makes. My bigger question is how big is the Batman Superman movie going to get? We already know that Wonder Woman's going to be a part of it, and now we found out today that she's signed for 3 pictures. There are all these rumors, you know, Aquaman, Green Arrow. what do you think they need to do in terms of, should it really just be a traditional Batman Superman and give them their own film, and that would push Justice League to at least 2017 and beyond? Or is it time to start, now that they have the time, is it time to start ramping up very quickly to the Justice League movie, since it seems that's inevitable?
I'm a big fan of the slow and steady wins the race. I mean, Marvel has proven that the solo films, like from Iron Man through until Captain America: The First Avenger, taking those steps up towards the Justice League, it only made, or up towards Avengers, it only made it more exciting. And like the idea of seeing these individual franchises come together, that's what's important. Of course, Batman and Superman are two characters that are already well known in the pop culture sphere. They are like, I mean, they don't need any. It's big enough news that they are joining up, but don't rush the Justice League in that sense. I mean, if you can have an event film just out of Batman and Superman coming together, then imagine how you can even compound upon that when you add Green Lantern and Wonder Woman and Flash into those mix. I mean, there's a lot of potential, and frankly, I'm hoping that Wonder Woman's role in quote-unquote Batman versus Superman, Man of Steel sequel, whatever you want to call it, is more limited, and that it's kind of just leading to somewhere as opposed to being a huge part of what Batman Superman is. Because frankly, there's a lot to say in Batman Superman just with those two characters. I mean, they're coming from such different places, they have such different histories, such different personalities, that the idea of actually just having a Batman Superman movie, that should be enough. That you don't necessarily need to bring in all the other stuff to just kind of swallow it whole. So take your time. Like, you want to bring in The Rock to play Green Lantern? Please, be my guest. I would absolutely love to see that. But at the same time, feel free to just slow the roll.
Part of me fears that the longer they wait, the more chance they're going to have of losing Affleck.
Yes. Well, I mean, Affleck obviously does. I mean, even compared to, like, say, Marvel, he was a star going into it, like unlike Robert Downey Jr., who was kind of still an underdog when he entered the Iron Man franchise. Ben Affleck, his career is probably at a higher point than it's ever been in his entire life. So, I mean, that has to be a concern. That has to be something that they're thinking about.
Well, and mainly just for directing. I mean, he has the ability now to pick and choose projects, and he's putting that on the shelf to take on a massive tentpole picture. And I think that the itch to scratch, to direct some stuff is going to nag. But, I mean, if they shoot relatively soon, and then the delay is primarily because of post-production stuff, he can go and do whatever he wants to do. Sure. But part of me felt like they needed to strike while the iron was hot. They got him under contract. They should have shot the movie, because, like I said, the longer you wait, I just think he's going to want to move on to something else.
That's completely legitimate. So let's take some final thoughts here. Batman Superman move. What are your final thoughts on this whole situation?
My final thoughts is that if it ultimately leads to a great movie, then I'm fine waiting. We have plenty of superhero projects to keep us busy from now until then. I think I kind of regret that it's going to just churn out a incessant stream of rumors tied to it.
For years and years.
And then we end up chasing all those tails. I would rather just, the movie's in production, we start to cover photos from it, maybe a trailer. I like that process more than just the wild speculation that comes with a lengthy sit.
Well, knowing the actual truth versus fiction, knowing actually what you're going to see, and kind of having that real vision come into your mind, that's invaluable stuff right there.
But between now and when that comes out, Marvel's just kicking DC's ass. I mean, it's Guardians of the Galaxy, it's Ant-Man, it's Avengers. All of these projects are going to drop. It's a new Captain America. Everything like that is going to drop before we ever get to Batman Superman. It's going to be all Batman Superman talk and speculation while we're actually seeing tangible Marvel movies, and DC can't feel good about that.
Well, all the more reason for them to tease us early, right?
Yes, exactly.
Well, Sean, it's always great to talk with you, man, and I'm sure we're going to do this again soon.
Congratulations on your new podcast, man.
Great. Have a good one.